Well, it's been very interesting actually. Not something that I've been exposed to before. But yeah, I'd have to say that certainly the way that people have understood the very complex nature of some of the requirements and the way I've explained them, which is probably not necessarily in a language everybody understands, has been, I found to be very intuitive. So they've actually picked up on fairly complex bits as they relate to apprenticeship and traineeship training and been able to turn them into pretty much exactly what we've asked for, which is quite a skill actually, for them to be able to pick up on just conversations and then snippets of those conversations and turn them into all the cards that sort of pop up on the wall, and then sort of turn them into little, I call them vignettes, but I think they're called something else, that we then get to discuss and watch as they sort of get built. And look, to date, certainly all of the stuff that they've built for us has been spot on. So yeah, it's been an interesting process for me. So this is probably my first real big exposure with an ITS project of this size. So yeah, as far as one, I'm very grateful for it because apprenticeships and traineeships at RMIT often get, they're sort of like the poor cousin of RMIT University, yet as I've said in a couple of my emails to people, that RMIT is the working man's college, and the backbone of RMIT is really trades programs. 127 years of plumbing programs. It was one of the first, well, not one, it was the first program that was ever delivered at RMIT, along with architecture, I believe. So to be able to be involved in a fairly large ITS process with the whole sort of broader university as well has been, I found it to be very valuable to for nothing other than to promote apprenticeships and traineeships really, and to let people know that we exist and that we are a valuable part of RMIT. And certainly the feeling within the school and within the teachers and the colleagues around here is that the investment that we're getting from ITS here means that we are important, and because in many instances there's a bit of a chip on the shoulder culture with some of the tradies where they feel like they've perhaps been not neglected, but they sort of feel like they're an external part of the university. So to be involved in a big project like this that's a university-wide project's been a great sort of forum for us to let everybody know that we're still here, and for the guys on the ground here to sort of know that RMIT appreciates the work that they do. Yeah. Look, so I'm the feature owner for this particular iteration. I wasn't for the last one. Eleanor was. She works at the college office, which is a very cushy job. I'm sure I'm saying. But she worked very hard at that particular spot now since I've been the feature owner of this bit. Look, the time demands are a little onerous, but that's only because I'm very busy around here. But having said that, it's such an important project that it's not a matter of can I make time for it. It's a matter of course I'll make time for it. Fortunately, Surav, who's a great project leader for the Fringe Division, he's great. He just tells me which ones I need to be at and which ones I don't necessarily need to be at, and if he tells me I need to be somewhere, I'll be there. And so that's the sort of relationship that we've built, and that's worked quite well for me. So I've got a very busy diary and I sometimes don't know where I'm supposed to be, but Surav's right on top of me. He'll tell me, no, I need you at this one, this one and this one for next week, and he'll often set out 2 weeks in advance for me just to check my calendar with the ones that I need to, because I do get a lot of stuff sent to me from ITS and Catherine and all the other people that are sometimes superfluous to what I need to be doing, but because I'm part of the project, you sort of get all the invites to everything. So certainly Sarah's been very good in sorting out which are the most critical ones for me to be at, and that's been working quite well. Yeah. Probably the key advantages that we get out of this project, and I'm sure Merrin and Maddie would be very happy to hear this too, and I certainly know Merrin was no fan of Atlas. Neither was I, but inherited it. The fact that we will have a learning management system, which is effectively what this is, it does other things, but for us it's really a learning management system. It ensures that the data that we have is in one place, not in two, and it ensures that we have integrity of the data that's in the system. In the past we had data A and data B, and there used to have to be manual inputs both ways, and what we used to finish up with was a bit of a mess. Very difficult to keep on top of, what results are in SAMS, what results are in Atlas, why are there different ones in this to that. So having everything in the one place, from my perspective, makes it a great deal easier to manage the all of the inputs, so ensure that we get paid on time, ensure that we confirm people in a timely fashion, ensure that results are entered in a timely manner, and ensure that the results that are going into our learning management system are transferring across into SAMS without any issues, because they're effectively the same system. So for me, the fact that we've got everything in the one place is a huge bonus, and it's a bonus for all of us really. Probably the other clear advantage that we get out of it too is we've been able to build in some system functions that are in this new learning management system that will enable us, and we're sort of in the throes of just developing this now, but to modify our business processes. And we can do that because we have new functionality that requires less manual intervention. So we've got a more automated approach to the way our confirmations occur, our results roll up, all that sort of stuff. 2 years ago that was done manually, which leaves room for error, which leaves room for all sorts of things can go wrong. So we're in the process of now changing our business practice within administration and teaching, utilising the functionality that we've got coming online now, particularly in training plans, and of course this next iteration that we're in now around the employer self-serve again provides very clear business process improvements that eliminate errors, eliminate the need for manual handling, and all those sorts of things. So really it's given us an opportunity to be able to look at the way we actually do things, refine them, and I think streamline them, and having to have less manual input for most of the things that we do. So some pretty good advantages here. So one of the things that we worked on at the beginning of the year, this was part of the last iteration, so in engaging students was a bulk engagement function. So you might have a class full of apprentices all in the class about to start the same unit of competence at the same time, and the functionality was a bulk engage function where you can just say, these students, this unit of competence, this activity, they're all starting at the same time, so you can pull up all of the students in that group and you can just tick one box instead of tick 30, which is a bit of a pain, and that will engage the students in that activity. But what we found in looking at that particular thing, it also showed us the enrolled status of the students, so were they enrolled or were they not enrolled, which is a very valuable feature, particularly for apprenticeship and traineeship training. We run an internal process that's within the school that we refer to as STEC, which is STEC, so it's scheduling, timetabling, enrolment and confirmation. So we track the scheduling against the enrolment, against the timetable, and then ensure that the students commence at the right time and get a tick in the box to get confirmed, which initiates the payment for us. So in looking at that particular bulk engage function, it was 90% STEC for us, which was really good, and in typical Fringe Division fashion they were all very excited about it, and the rule of unintended consequences and uses, and promptly compared it to Viagra, which was I think Viagra was initially designed to be a heart drug, and it turned out to have many powerful other assets, so we call this the Viagra effect with our STEC. And in fact I'm going down to use a test, a STEC query that we've built in now, which will pull out all of that information just with a query, which will enable us to pre-plan all of our groups as they come in each week. So we'll be able to prepare by schedule, by unit of competence, by enrolled status, and then we can just simply hand those over to the teachers to go down into the class. And if there's really, all I need to do is do a head count. If there's any extra kids sitting in the class, write their name down, bring it back upstairs, find out who that kid is, why they're sitting in the class, we can enrol them. So yeah, look, it is very, in fact I've got a whole bunch of them sitting here, which is how we use it. So yeah, I think that feature is looking to go live, user testing pending today by Friday. And again, that'll be a very powerful piece of information that we can just generate out of a system to just help us cross-check that every single person who's in a class is actually enrolled in the right unit and engaged, and also confirmed in it as well. So, and look, and that'll feed into even following up, resulting and everything else too. So yeah, very, very useful tool that was not intended to be built, but yeah, when we looked at it, it was like, wow, we could probably do something with that. So yeah, very good. Yeah, I think the key bit, I'm actually doing the Agile training tomorrow and Friday, so I suspect I'll learn a little bit more about it when I'm there. But I think one of the key features that I found quite interesting of is the level of engagement that you get with the project team. So in the past, and I know this was some of the negative feedback that we get, but certainly even working with some of the other areas around RMIT, property services and all that sort of stuff, is that generally you'll have your opportunity to say what it is you want, and then they go away for 6 months and they come back and they give you something that wasn't necessarily quite what you asked for. Might be 50, 60, 70, 80% correct, but it's not quite what you've asked for, and then you finish up having to do a retrofit, which takes a whole lot of extra time. So I think the methodology of how all this works, with my limited knowledge of it, I can certainly see that the clear benefits of chunking up the activities involving feature owners and staff, and then user testing, and then rolling out the functionality as it becomes available, rather than sort of dumping it all as a big run. One, it socialises it too, I think. So certainly the advantage that we had through the other iterations, so actually just getting the system built, was being able to include all of my staff in various aspects of the user testing that they were going to be using heavily once it came online. One, having them involved in user testing, getting the feedback, feeding that back through the team, and then doing the user testing again and then seeing the improvements was reassuring to people that were going through change. So that was a big benefit. And then, as I said, also I think just from a sensitisation, so just getting them used to the look and the feel in the demo environment before they had to go live meant they weren't confronted with stuff that they were completely unfamiliar with on the first day of the class, when there's 30 apprentices all jumping up and down, carrying on like boys do, and having to figure out a new system on the fly. I certainly think the way that it rolls out is very good. Yeah. Would you argue? I think that you've got to be fairly succinct given the time frames are quite tight. It would be fairly easy if you had the wrong people around the table to get tied up in knots. So you can get. I unfortunately have a few people like that in the thing. So I think there's always a time to sort of negotiate and include and discuss elements of what it is that you're trying to do and what you want to change, and there's time not to. So I think in the right circumstance, absolutely, it would be a good way to do things. Yeah. Well, look, I'd certainly tell them to, depending on what the project was, certainly if it was one of these ITS projects and it had fairly significant impact on how you run your business, I'd be saying get as involved as you possibly can, and ensure that you're sort of quite clear in the first instance of what it is you want and need from what it is that's being designed, and then to consult heavily with your team that you've got working with you. I think if you involve yourself in the process, well then you'll see the benefits of the production, whereas if you don't involve yourself, you probably might finish up with a few little bits and bobs that you might not necessarily want. But certainly I would encourage anybody to get into it, because you'll finish up with a product that really is interpretive of what it was that you're after in the first place. And if you've engaged in all of the steps of the model and the train along the way, then there's no reason why you should not get to the end of it and have exactly what you want, really. It's a win-win for all, really. Plus it saves people a lot of work and effort and having to retrofit stuff, and which can take a fair bit of time too. So I'd certainly encourage people to both engage and get involved in a process like this, because they'll get what they want if they do.